Hi everybody, welcome. This is Cardio30. My name is Erin. Lizzie is your digital demo. Today is technique week. So we do intentional programming around all of our classes, including our cardio. And today the theme is form first. We're going to move slowly and really focus on form because ultimately that's what matters. And a lot of times if we move too fast, the form slides a bit. So we're going to start with your feet in a turned out squat position. So you're going to step your feet slightly wider than your hips. Exactly. Our lovely demo there. She's a professional. Don't try that at home. Okay, take a big inhale, reach your arms up, and then exhale, lower your arms down. So do that a couple times. Just find your space on your mat, set your intention for the next 30 minutes. This is one of my favorite class formats. It goes really quickly. Time passes quickly, but you're not going to move your body quickly today. You're going to focus and be intentional. Last one, hold the up, take a hold of your left wrist, take a side stretch to the right. Good, and then go the other way. And then take your hands down and touch your glutes. I want you to root down through your feet, lift up through your glutes. Okay, and we're actually gonna go, I said root, you think we're gonna do root rebound? No, we're gonna do a squat, but keep your hands on your glutes. So sit back into a turned out squat. And then as you stand up, feel your glutes hug in. When you keep your glutes engaged and you pull your abdominals in, it's really good for the muscles that you're working. It also prevents you from like thrusting your hips forward or flaring your ribs as you stand up. The more awareness you have about your rib position, the more it translates into everything else in life, including the way you stand, the way you sit, the way you walk. All right, now add a little heel raise. Keep your hands on the glutes. Yeah, it might feel weird to not have your hands in front of you from a balance standpoint, but really when you touch a muscle, you're gonna be a little bit more aware of where it is and how it's working for you. There's a connection between your brain and your body. Okay, you have 4 more counts. All right, last one. Hold the squat, take your hands into prayer. Notice if you dive your chest forward, lift it up a little bit, you're gonna come into a straight arm plank. Hands will come to the ground in 4 counts, 3, 2, on 1. Place your hands down on the floor, step your feet back, set up your plank first, and then we're gonna go into a half frog with rotation. So step or slide your right foot to the outside of your right wrist, rotate your torso towards your forward leg, come back through center, place your hand down, step your right leg back, and then switch sides. So notice where your foot naturally comes and then where you have to sort of like, scoot it to go so that it lands basically in that half of your squat position. This is an excellent exercise for hip mobility. If your hips are tight, it is a very frustrating exercise, right? Because you feel like you can't step your foot forward. Notice how like Lizzie's foot is coming all the way towards her wrist. I've known Lizzie a long time and that she wasn't born like that, right? Lizzie and I were born the same way, tight, okay? So we've done a lot of work on mobility. Yeah, that's where she started, right? That's where you can go. We all have potential, okay? We do a lot of mobility work, intentional mobility work. We do a lot of rolling. And it makes a difference in how your body slides and glides. I think I probably have better, people call it flexibility, but I think I have better, more intentional movement now than I had when I was a kid because I had no idea what I was doing in my body. Also, sometimes your body gets really tight and stiff when it's trying to protect itself from itself. So if you have hypermobility, you have a hard time stabilizing your body will kind of do weird things to try to compensate. And also if you're really hard on your body, sometimes it will tighten and stiffen to try to protect itself. Okay, you're gonna do one more on the left. Good, and then hold your plank, soften your elbows a little bit, pull your abdominals in. We're gonna go into a child's pose in 4 counts, 3, 2, and 1. Set your knees down, shift your hips back, wiggle your hips a little bit side to side if that feels good for you. Okay, and then come up on, let's go to downward dog, because some of you guys are pretty far. Come to downward dog, pike your hips up. I'm gonna have you use your feet to walk to your stable surface. Some of you guys are pretty far away. Okay, and then walk your hands and feet towards each other, going round and up. We're gonna use a stable surface for a lot of things today because it's gonna help with your form. And remember, our theme is form first. Okay, so face your stable surface. Come into a power V position. So your heels together, toes apart. Okay, just to set up. And then step your left leg back. I feel like we're gonna have a sock issue today, Lizzie. Okay, so you're gonna come into an upright, turned out lunge, and then you're gonna step forward into a turned out squat. So your foot will step a little bit wider than it just was. So if you need to step back from your stable surface, yep, Ariella's got it. She's like, I'm not waiting for you, Erin. Don't worry, I already started the clock. Okay, so this is tricky because it's complex, right? You're moving between two different positions and you're also moving in the backwards direction, which we're not necessarily really good at. Does anybody walk around the block backwards? No, like 99.9% of the time we're in a forward direction. So when we have to go backwards, unexpectedly, it catches us off guard. So we practice all the things. We move side. Okay, the first set is an upright lunge. The next set's gonna be a hinge lunge, but in between we're gonna come into a mountain pose. You're just gonna stand with your feet in that turned out squat. Place your hands on your glutes in 3, 2, on 1. Come to standing, lift your sternum up, take your hands to your glutes, pull your ribs back and feel your glutes engage, just like you did at the very beginning of class. That tactile feedback is gonna help you activate the appropriate muscles. Okay, this next one, you're gonna step back into a turned out hinge lunge. So notice the difference. Sorry, turned out hinge lunge. Yeah, still turned out. Hinge back, step your left leg back. We're gonna go now, yep, and then step up. Okay, so sometimes we do upright lunges, sometimes we do hinge, sometimes parallel, sometimes turns out. There are many varieties. The turned out position is really, really hard because the muscles that stabilize your knee in this position aren't quite as strong and dominant typically as in a parallel position. So this is where I encourage you to slow it down and make sure your right knee is tracking over the center of your right foot in the same direction. Yeah. Your knee isn't going over your foot, it's just in the same direction. Careful of word choice sometimes. Okay, you have 4 more counts. Mountain pose. We're gonna switch sides in 3, 2, on 1, stand up. Okay, put your hands on your glutes, stand tall, take your right ear to your right shoulder, left ear to your left shoulder. Get out of that position for a second. Okay, and now you're gonna step your right foot back into an upright lunge, turned out, and then step forward. I find whenever I do turned out lunge, I have to hold on to a stable surface because when I throw in the added variable of balance, it's just way too hard for me to maintain good form. And then if I start moving too fast, things go awry. So control the descent, decelerate the descent as you step back. You're gonna come into that mountain pose at another 10 counts. But stay focused. The right leg steps back to the same position every time. Okay, we're practicing technique. We practice over and over because practice makes progress. You have 4 counts, 3, 2, stand up in your mountain pose. Wrap your hands around your glutes, lift up tall. Notice if you kind of lock out your knees here, soften your knees, pull your ribs back. Next set, we're gonna do same thing, but you're gonna hinge in a lunge in 4 counts, 3, 2, on 1, step your right leg back and then step forward. Notice if there's a difference in your weight distribution or where you feel this in your body when you're hinge versus upright. I want you to understand the differences, not just in what we call things, but also how they feel in your body. We do a lot of different variety at Alkalign, and we're intentional about what we teach, when we teach it, how frequently we teach it, so that you have an opportunity to strengthen all the things, mobilize all the things in a balanced way. Okay, you have another 6 counts. You're gonna come to standing in 4, 3, 2, on 1. Come to that mountain pose again. Wrap your hands around your glutes. Okay, lift up tall. Almost like use your hands to lift your pelvis up off your legs, that can feel pretty good. Okay, get used to giving yourself that tactile feedback. It's actually really good for your brain. Okay, and now you're gonna come to what are we coming to? Let's go down. Take your feet hip distance apart. Sorry, I had a brain scramble. Hinge forward, hands on your hips. You're gonna do a double leg deadlift. So just hinge forward. Yep. So you can take a slight bend to your knees. You can do lots of different things for your hands here. One hand to your abdominals, one hand to your low back, like Lizzie's demonstrating. You can reach your arms forward, which can remind you not to dive bomb towards the floor, like if you're reaching out and down, but the long levered arms can also add additional load to your back. So pay attention to how it feels in your body. And as you stand up, hug your heels back like you're pulling them towards the wall behind you, and engage your glutes as you stand up. Okay, you have 4 more counts. Look at Lizzie's using her hands to check her hamstrings, check her glutes. Okay, last one. Okay, bring your feet back into a turned out squat. We're gonna do a walking burpee. Okay, so not a crazy burpee. There's no jumping, there's no thrusting of the hips. You're gonna squat down. So step 1, technique week. Step 1, squat. Step 2, place your hands down on the ground. Step 3, step your left leg back, then your right leg back, and then your right leg comes forward, and then your left leg comes forward, and you stand up. Rinse and repeat. Okay, so go slowly, and this is where that hip mobility comes in handy. That's why we did that half frog. If you have a hard time getting your foot all the way up before you stand up on it, before you load those joints, that can really affect your joint health longer term. So the mobility allows you to get into the position so that when you load the joints, you're doing it in a more safe way. Your 15-second hold here is going to be a straight arm plank. You're welcome to set the knees down. If you want to take a child's pose instead, you can do that. You have another 10 counts here, straight arm plank. And then we'll start our next walking burpee from the plank instead of from standing. You have 3, 2, hold your plank. Hold it here. Just take a moment to reset, close your eyes to breathe. Take an inhale. Good, exhale. Pull your abdominals in. Now soften your knees if that helps you find more engagement through the abdominals. We're gonna go again. Right leg will step forward in 4 counts. 3, 2, on 1. Step your right foot forward, left foot forward, stand up, and then squat. Left leg back, right leg forward. Yep. If you find yourself talking to yourself during exercises like this, that's okay too. I work in the library a couple times a month, and when I'm alphabetizing things and reshelving, I still sing the ABCs in my head, so it's cool. And I've been known to count on my fingers. I've also been known to hold my hands up and, make sure that my left hand's making the L. So whatever tools work for you. Talk to yourself, hands on the glutes when you can get them there, whatever works. Okay, you have 4 more counts. 3, 2, stay standing. Okay, take your hands back behind you. Take a little chest stretch. Okay, we're gonna do that same thing, other side. This time the right leg will come back. Okay, so step 1, squat down. Step 2, place your hands on the floor. Right leg back, left foot forward, stand up. Yep. So the technique week is an opportunity to practice the same thing over and over. But when you do something over and over, whether that's in an Alkalign class or in life, right? So things like sitting, walking, standing, sleeping that we do repetitively, if you're not doing those with great alignment or great form, that can lead to wear and tear to your body. So we're really concerned with alignment and getting your body into proper alignment before you move it, and keeping your brain engaged just as much as your abdominals, because that makes, or just as much as your muscles. I was just thinking about your abdominals in that plank. You have 4 counts, 3, 2, hold your plank. Okay. Soften your knees, pull your abdominals in. Yeah, wrap the sides of your glutes in. You can't use your hands in this position to give yourself that glute feedback. But they're there. Sarah, lift your head up a little bit. Jen, lift your head up a little bit too. Yes. Nice. Okay, you're gonna step your left foot forward in 3, 2, on 1. Step your left foot forward, right foot forward, stand up. So these cardio classes are an opportunity to practice dynamic movement. And because the movement is usually a little bit bigger, and we're doing things like getting down and getting back up, it definitely elevates your heart rate. You might even get a little sweaty, but if you're not super sweaty, I'm not a big sweater, it doesn't mean that your workout wasn't effective. You don't have to sweat for it to work. Okay, this is your last set of walking burpees, and then we're gonna stay on the ground, and we're gonna do some scissor walks in 6 counts, 5, 4, 3, 2, last one. Come on down, turn over onto your back, lie down, bring your legs up towards the ceiling, curl your head, neck, and shoulders up, and then you're gonna switch legs. You can either catch your leg like Lizzie is doing here, or I like to add a rotation to reach to the outside of my ankle that's in the air. They're both, I mean, they're technically both in the air, but the higher one. Yeah. So you're getting a little oblique work here. You're also getting rectus abdominis by lifting your head away from the floor. If you're experiencing any neck sensitivity today and you want to put your head down, do it. Again, just like everything else, form first. Yeah, move slowly with intention. You'll get more out of it. Okay, you have another 10 counts here. And then we're going to come back up to standing via a downward dog for reverse lunge at your stable surface. That's coming up in 4, 3, 2, and 1. Roll on over, make your way up to standing. I like a little downward dog. Be careful when you go from the ground to standing when your heart rate's elevated that you do so slowly. Okay, come up to your stable surface. You want to be pretty close to your stable surface. Instead of being in a turned out position this time, you're going to stay in parallel. Step your left leg back, upright lunge, and then stand all the way up. So both knees bend, yep, and then stand back up. The critical thing to pay attention to is the alignment of the forward knee. You want your knee directly over the ankle. It's going to want to drift forward. Your torso may want to drift forward as well, going into that hinge position. Yeah, no hinging forward. We're staying upright here. And again, we're moving in that backwards direction, but a little bit different from what we did in our first exercise. Then when you stand up, pull the heel back, and I get a little hang time at the top so I can really engage my glutes as I stand up. Also nice to get you up out of the lunge. So stand up, recruit your glutes. This is actually good practice for something called standing, which I don't know about you guys, but I did not get a manual on how to stand or sit or walk or sleep. At Alkalign, we actually have a manual. It's called our Practice Makes Posture program. But you learn so much about these basic things that you do all the time. You have last one here, stand up. Plant your left foot down. The right foot that's planted, you're gonna take a standing quad stretch. So curl your right heel in, a little standing quad stretch. Soften your left knee, slide your leg back. All right, and then step your right foot back down. The left leg's gonna move again in 3, 2, and now. Okay, stand, step back. So when I do this, I need to almost pull off my stable surface a little bit to keep my front leg properly aligned. Yep, notice how Lizzie's moving really slowly and intentionally, and she has so much consistency in the alignment of her front knee and front ankle. And then pull your heel, traction your right heel back as you stand up. Yeah, get a little hang time at the top. Squeeze your glutes. Okay, you're gonna do that for another 8 counts, and then we're going to do the quad stretch and switch sides in 4, 3, 2, last one. Step onto your left foot, pull your right heel in, soften your left knee. Okay, on this side, you're just gonna go right from your quad stretch, step your right foot back, and then stand back up. So boom, we're in the second side. Yep, there you go, step back. So notice if it's more challenging to align your knee on one side versus the other. Yeah, nice, Jeannie. And it feels different to be in a hinge position for an upright versus an upright position. Definitely have to think about that. The hinge, I would say, comes more naturally. So that's why I picked the exercises in technique week that really takes a lot of thought and intention to do them correctly. So we have plenty of time to practice them. You have 5 more counts, quad stretch on the left in 4, 3, 2, on 1. Step on your right foot, curl your left heel in, soften your standing leg, slide your leg back. Okay, 1 more set of that where the right leg moves. That's coming up in 5 counts. 4, 3, 2, on 1. Step your right foot back and then stand up, engage your glutes. Again, find that little extra squeeze, that little hang time. Yeah, notice if your torso is pitching forward at all, hinging forward. Again, holding onto a stable surface where you can pull off and really get your head back over your hips. Yeah. How's it feel, Lizzie, without stepping your foot all the way forward, getting more engagement in the left side by not weighting the right foot as she steps forward? She's feeling it in her glutes and her hamstrings. Yeah, and if you also notice like you have to use momentum to get from your lunge back to standing, maybe don't work in such a big range of motion, right? You can adjust this for you. That's the beauty of Alkalign. You have 4 counts, 3, 2, on 1. Step your right foot down, take your left ankle into your left hand, take another quad stretch. Okay, we're gonna come down to the ground for a triceps push-up to child's pose. So make your way down to the ground, bring your thumbs and forefingers towards each other. They don't necessarily have to be touching. Shift your heart over your hands, bend your elbows to the diagonal, and then shift back into child's pose. So this should feel like a nice little stretch for your back and a little functional push. Push-up is a plank in motion. So this 30-minute class is part of a class stack. We teach the 30-minute Align, followed by the 30-minute cardio. And I sequence them to kind of go together. And our theme in the Align 30 was posterior chain. You're gonna feel some posterior muscles fire in this class as well. You have 6 more counts and then 1 final interval set. You're gonna come back to standing in 4, 3, 2, and 1. Make your way back up to standing, however that feels good for you. Oh, Lizzie just did a step up. Okay, find your stable surface. We're gonna practice seesaw 2 different ways. So you're gonna start in parallel, scoot back a bit, place your hands on your stable surface, slide your right leg back, and then you're gonna rise the ball of your left foot, pull your right knee in, and then reach your right leg back. Pull your right knee in, reach your right leg back. Yep. So for those of you who did the class stack consecutively, we did fold over. This is, and we also did deadlifts. This is kind of a combination of the 2, but in a more dynamic fashion. We're starting in parallel with your standing toes facing forward. The next set, we're gonna do it in turned out, so you experience both and the difference between them. Yeah, really be deliberate about reaching your leg back as if your little furry friend right behind you and you didn't wanna kick him or her in the face, Maria. Yeah. You've got a careful observer in the room with you. Okay, you have 5 more counts. 4, 3, 2, on 1. Go ahead and set your foot down. Take a little figure 7 stretch if you can pull off your stable surface enough. Yep, bend your knees a little bit. Okay, then come back to standing, but bring your feet into a power V position. Slide your, lovely demo, Lizzie, slide your right leg back. This time, dock your right foot behind your left ankle or calf as you stand up, and then go back. So it is different for the standing leg. We started with that turned out lunge. First we did upright and then parallel, right? Now we have done a few things. We did the reverse hinge in parallel, but this is important to keep your knee tracking over the second and third toe on the left side. This is also where I notice sometimes the right hip will open and the leg will swing back. So turn your hip down. Imagine I'm in the room with you and I have my hands on the back of your pelvis and I'm turning your right hip down so it's even with your left. You can make that adjustment on your own. Okay, if you feel this in your calves, well, congratulations. You're strengthening your feet and the muscles in your lower body as well. You have 6 more counts. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Go ahead and stand up. Just take a little shoulder roll. Nothing fancy here for your transition except that we're going to get set up for the other side in parallel. So step or slide your left leg back, lift your leg up, and then pull your left knee in, and then reach your left leg back. Yep, so rise to the ball of your right foot. Reach back. So notice the difference being in parallel versus turned out. It's going to be different side to side. Yeah, deeply bend your right knee as you thread the left leg back. Sometimes if you are sort of a hip opener, sometimes it's helpful to flex your foot as you reach your leg back and imagine pointing your toes straight down to the floor. That will keep your hip in alignment. You just don't want to introduce momentum with that swinging motion. You can see why a stable surface is so important. It's hard to do this without. Okay, you have 4 more counts. Come to standing in 3, 2, on 1. Come to standing. Take a moment. Just roll your shoulders back. Take a chest stretch. Whatever you need. Bring your heels together. Toes apart. This is your final exercise in your final interval. This is it. Final lap around the track. Okay, we go in 4 counts. 3, 2, on 1. Left leg back. And then this time dock the left foot behind the right leg. Yeah, it's harder for me, I should say, in this one to keep my hips square because of the external rotation of the femur bone. It's just a little bit more complex in my body. Okay, you only have 10 more counts here, so make the most of it. Deep bend in your right knee as you thread your left leg back. Rise all the way up. You're getting so much work for your lower body, your backside, your abdominals. You have 8 more counts. You're coming down for roll-ups. Ready? You have 4, 3, 2, and 1. Nice job. Go ahead and lie down on your back. Bring your legs up towards the ceiling and roll your hips up and down. Lift and lower. Yep, little rectus abdominis. If you want to add the upper body as well and go legs out and then curl everything up, you're more than welcome to do that. That happens to be one of my favorite exercises. I know my favorites aren't everybody's favorites, so this is your last minute of real work here. I want you to pick the thing that sparks joy. Okay, you have another 15 counts. And then we're gonna do a few glute bridges to lengthen out the front body in 4, 3, 2, on 1. Bring your feet down to the floor, hip width distance apart. Bridge your hips up and then lower down. Take your hands back to your glutes and feel your glutes fire as you lift up. I also like to pull my heels back here and really push down through the feet. as you've done a lot of work full body, right? You were down, you were up, you were pushing, you were pulling. All the functional movements were incorporated, and the whole idea of this training is to set you up for success for the rest of your day, and hopefully for many, many years to come. You have 6 more counts, and then we're gonna go right into a figure 4 stretch in 4, 3, 2, and 1. Excellent job. Lower down. Let's go cross the right ankle over the left leg. Thread your hands underneath. Flex and point your feet a little bit. That's a good little pump for your lymphatic system. Good. And then switch sides. Left ankle over the right. Okay, uncross your ankles, hug your knees in, and take your knees up and over to the right for a spinal rotation stretch. So the weight of your legs is going to help stretch through your thoracic spine, stretch across your chest. Okay, and then go the other way. Good, and breathe. Where you want to feel your heart rate come down, and then come back through center and take a rock up. We're going to do a hamstring stretch in a seated position. So come to a seated neutral spine, lengthen your legs out in front of you. Okay, so sit up tall, reach your arms up towards the ceiling, take it, inhale, lift up out of your hips, and then forward fold over your legs. Take your right hand to the outside of your left foot and draw your left hip back. I'll either push my hand down next to the mat, or I'll even take my left thumb to my left hip crease sometimes. Push your left heel forward, draw the left hip back, and then switch sides. Take your left hand to the outside of your right ankle, draw your hip back, press your heel forward. Good, and then come back to standing and crisscross applesauce your legs in whatever position works for your hips and your knees. Take your hands up underneath your knees and sit tall. Practice sitting here. You can take this skill set with you all day long when you're sitting at your desk, sitting in the car. Take an inhale. Good, and exhale. Let's do one more big inhale. Reach your arms up just like we started class. And then exhale, bring your hands right to your heart into prayer. And thank yourselves for showing up today on your mat, for carving out this time for you. Thank you, Lizzie, for being my demo. I'll see you guys next time.